Hey everyone, we're back with notebook page 9, drugs and behavior, and we're going to take a look at both legal and illegal drugs and the effect on behavior in the brain. So take the title card down at this time. I'll move on to slide 1, psychoactive drugs. Now, psychoactive drugs are substances that alter perceptions and or moods, it's another way that one can experience various states of consciousness. So psychoactive drugs work by changing your brain's interpretation of stimuli, your emotional state, or your internal thoughts. So all drugs kind of fall under this psychoactive drug umbrella, all of which have a sizable impact on your behavior, whether it's interpretation of stimuli, emotional state, or internal thoughts changing, your behavior is going to change. Well, under the effects of a psychoactive drug, one's sensory neurons are often relaying the exact information as a sober person, but that information is distorted, it's interpreted differently by the brain, depending on the drug itself. So something like painkillers, you may have the messages getting sent are normal, but it's slowed down because you're on that drug. Or something like caffeine, you might be tired, your brain is sending those messages, but the caffeine is inhibiting that and changing your state. So addiction can occur when the body becomes chemically dependent on these drugs. Tolerance goes up. Now you need it to take more of these drugs to feel the effects, and there can be withdrawal effects. So let me put up the slide. You can take this down now. Move on to slide 2. Depressants. And the first class of drug is depressants. These are drugs that reduce neural activity, slow down brain function. There are 3 categories that we'll talk about. Alcohol, are barbiturates, and opiates. Now, alcohol is a disinhibitor, so that slows brain activity, the brain activity that controls judgment and inhibitions. So this can cause people to be more talkative, to do things they would be too nervous to do or consider inappropriate, make bad judgments like driving while intoxicated, or enhancing sexual aggression. In the short term, it also slows down neural processing, reduces coordination, self-awareness, self-control, speech, other skills. So it's why people that are drunk slur their speech. It's why they're having the neural processing is slowing down to do those things. Long-term effects can include nerve cell death, blackouts, loss of memory. Your brain can actually shrink from alcohol usage too much. Lung and liver damage also there. And so one of the interesting things about alcohol and some of the studies around alcohol is that people often report being inebriated around inebriated people, even if they have not had any alcohol. So there's a study done where they basically brought people in to kind of essentially have like a party and be observed. And each person got a specific bottle of alcohol that they had to use. And for some, it was real. For some, it was a placebo. It was a non-alcoholic placebo. And what they showed was that the people that drank the placebo also acted drunk and inebriated. Their brain actually adjusted socially to what was happening. So part of alcohol consumption behavior is due to societal expectations. So, you may have someone who, quote unquote, seems like a lightweight in terms of drinking. And it's not that they can't handle alcohol, right? If they get drunk and have one sip of a beer or glass of wine, they get drunk. They are drunk because of the societal expectation to be drunk, or they want to be drunk. And as we've seen in some studies, that they actually will act and their brain will react as if they are drunk. So they essentially are. So let me put up the slide. Now let's move on to slide 3. So barbiturates function kind of like tranquilizers, more than alcohol does. It depresses the central nervous system to the point of intense relaxation, sedation, sleep, and sometimes death if it's even too much and the central nervous system shuts down. So these are often used to sedate people or animals as well as reduce anxiety. Some examples of barbiturates include Nembutal, Sesanol, Amytal, And some criticism against them is that they are used to treat anxiety while ignoring the cognitive causes of anxiety. So when mixed with other depressants like alcohol, super deadly. That's why there's a lot of medication you can't drink alcohol with, because it can be very deadly. Today, a lot of anxiety treatments actually we've kind of moved away from barbiturates, moved to benzodiazepam versus barbiturates. And they have similar effects, but kind of do it differently. So barbiturates will increase um, the duration of your channels opening up versus benzodiazepam, things like Klonopin, other drugs that will just increase the frequency of the channel opening up. So it's not wide open, and it can actually have less side effects. Opiates are highly addictive painkillers, such as heroin, codeine, morphine. Their effectiveness lays in their ability to mimic endorphins, thus initiating a warm, euphoric high that can leave subjects in a crashed or withdrawal-like state, as their natural endorphin production has been inhibited or halted. So, have those examples: painkillers, heroin, and this is when we hear of the opioid epidemic right now in the United States. This is what we're talking about, because painkillers were prescribed for a long time for almost any pain, and it's highly addictive, and you get kind of that euphoric feeling. And when you're off of it, then that crash of withdrawal is really, really big. I'll give you a story, an example of this. My cousin, when she was in high school, she played lacrosse. She tore both of her ACLs and was on painkillers for a long time. And she got addicted to those painkillers. And so when she went to college, she was still addicted to painkillers, and you can't get them by prescription, and they're very expensive. So that's why a lot of people turn to heroin. Heroin is a cheaper alternative, essentially, to that, and that's what she did. She became addicted to heroin, ended up in jail, and after that, became clean, and was upfront about that addiction, and now she was elected to the Allegheny County Council. She's on the board of elections for Allegheny County, and has kind of turned her life around, right? So, but that's a lot of like normal people, intelligent people get addicted to painkillers or heroin. It's very common right now. A lot of people die from overdosing, and so it's something to definitely be aware of, and can because that withdrawal was so great, that addiction really ramps up quickly. So let me put up the slide. Let's move on to slide 4, which is stimulants. Stimulants are drugs that excite neural activity, speed up body functions, causing a rise in breathing, heartbeat, energy, confidence. Stimulants are used to make one feel alert, lose weight, boost mood and athletic performance. They're often made illegal due to enhanced neurocognitive or athletic abilities in competition. So there's some things that aren't illegal, like caffeine and nicotine. There's some things that are illegal, like amphetamines, essentially some steroids, and cocaine. Symptoms of withdrawal or even wearing off of an initial high can include fatigue, headache, irritability, depression, thus encouraging further use to get rid of withdrawal symptoms. So, even something like caffeine can be highly addictive. That if you drink caffeine consistently day to day and don't for a day or a few days, you're going to get those withdrawal symptoms. You're going to be fatigued. You're going to have headache. Look, I definitely go through that. I drink coffee daily, multiple cups usually, and if I don't, I don't feel good, and I always wonder, is the caffeine? Do I need more water? It can be tough to kind of see why those symptoms are occurring. Nicotine is another example, right? Nicotine in cigarettes and chewing tobacco is highly addictive. It hits the central nervous system within 7 seconds of use, and that's why people get those feelings really initially with nicotine and get addicted to that. So it increases alertness, mental efficiency right off the bat. So let's take this down. All right, let's move on to slide 5. Stimulants continued. Let's talk about cocaine. Cocaine provides a rush of euphoria, but depletes dopamine, serotonin, uh, non-epinephrine by blocking reuptake, and so that extends that euphoria because the reuptake isn't allowed to happen. So within an hour, neurochemistry is changed, and people become restless. They anxiousness goes up. Depression can come in. It's highly addictive, even after one use, because of the effect on the brain. So there are a lot of studies, not super ethical, but there are studies done on monkeys and rats that a monkey would hit a hit of cocaine when they hit a lever, get a hit of cocaine when they hit a lever, and then they wouldn't. And they'd hit the lever 12,000 times trying to get that extra hit of cocaine. Rats would actually exert themselves so much hitting the lever that they would kill themselves just to try to get that cocaine. So the addictive properties are super high. Methamphetamines as well, or as we kind of commonly refer to it as meth, increases dopamine, euphoria, alertness, energy, followed by a crash of major consequences, seizures, social isolation, violent outbursts. Meth reduces dopamine functioning in the long term and becomes highly addictive. That's why you see people that are addicted to meth, their physiological body changes, a lot. And another highly addictive drug that really has negative effects long and short term. Go to the slide. Take it down now. Let's move on to slide 6. Hallucinogens. And hallucinogens are drugs that distort perceptions and evoke sensory images in the absence of sensory input. So, kind of simply put, hallucinogens may cause you to hear and see things that aren't there. While the sensory stimuli, light, sound, touch, taste, remain constant, the brain is interpreting them completely differently or perceiving stimuli that's just not there. And this is why hallucinogens can provide visually stunning images, distortions, better or worse taste of food, etc. So an example of this is LSD. LSD has these uninterrupted, fantastic pictures, shapes, colors, but can be from euphoria to detachment to panic. You don't know how you're going to react on that from time to time. So LSD often will start with just seeing geometric forms and spindles, and then it starts molding into more meaningful images. Similar reports of those on LSD actually are similar to people that were near death, and people like died in a hospital, their heart stopped and were regenerated. Often they report seeing the same things, the geometric shapes and these really fantastic shapes, and then they were brought back. And so that's why LSD and hallucinogens in general often used in some cultures spiritually. Feel like it's opening up your mind, but can definitely have negative effects. Can have bad trips, and as I'll get into, can have dire consequences in some circumstances. I'll put up the slide here. Take us down now. So we're on to slide 7. Hallucinogens continued. So THC, marijuana, cannabis can relieve pain, calm nerves, increase appetite. So now that's why today the medical use for chemotherapy can be equal to painkillers, but less addictive. And THC impairs coordination, perception, reaction. So you should not drive. If you smoke marijuana or use cannabis, that can be bad. And because your reaction time is severely slowed, it's driving while intoxicated. Because of those things. So now anxiety and depression can be amplified on hallucinogens. These kind of bad trips can happen. That if you have those issues, oftentimes, hallucinogens will project those even more and can have, really, really bad kind of consequences. Long-term use can disrupt memory formation, shrink emotion and memory areas, even more so than alcohol. Overuse of hallucinogens can really shrink your short-term and long-term memory, and you can really lose a lot of that. So even emotional centers can have some problems. You may not be able to regulate emotions as well. Put this up here. Take this down now. Let's move to slide 8, hybrids. So kind of the main hybrid in our society is ecstasy or MDMA. It's both a stimulant and a hallucinogen at the same time. And so this triggers dopamine release and really floods those neurons with serotonin and blocks reuptake so you can experience it longer. So it kind of combines a lot of these different drugs into one, which gives you a boost of energy. Your emotional elevation is there. You feel connected with more people, especially strangers. You'll be able to talk and communicate without any kind of inhibition with those people. And so, what this also does is increase blood pressure and dehydrates you. And a big problem is that, ecstasy, often because of that high energy, because of that emotional elevation, a lot of people use it, raves and dancing and celebrating. But that's kind of the worst thing to do, because you're exerting energy, you're overheating, you're already dehydrated, and that's when people die or have major medical complications. So this also can harm serotonin-producing neurons, resulting in permanent depression, suppressing the immune system, impairing memory, slowing thoughts down long term. And when you mess with that reuptake, when you start blocking that reuptake and flooding neurons, as we said, then it becomes less effective in your real life, and that's some of the problems with psychoactive drugs. Is that the natural chemical balance is disrupted, even if it is a drug that may not have what we view as major long-term or consequences or side effects. There is brain physiology that is affected. So let me put up this slide. Take this down now. Once you do, you're done with notebook page 9, and that's the end of Unit 2 out of 9. Thank you.